Remember when a small, simple home didn't feel like a luxury? Picture this. You're 68 years old, sitting at your kitchen table with bills spread out in front of you, watching your rent notice show another increase, the third one in 2 years. Most retirees aren't afraid of small space. They're afraid of surprise costs, rent jumps, utility bills, repairs that come out of nowhere. Landlords raise rents, utilities raise rates, assisted living fees climb every year. The system rewards the people billing you monthly, not the people trying to live with dignity on a fixed income. Today, we're not proving a Tesla house exists. We're answering what matters. If a $5,983 tiny house were real, what would it actually cost you to live in it safely for 10 years? If you're over 60 and tired of hype, you'll want this breakdown. The real price behind that $5,983 number. Before we go further, let's be clear. There's no official Tesla listing you can buy today. No confirmed launch date, no verified purchase link. So we'll separate what's technically possible from what's unverified from what's commonly misunderstood. And we'll focus on the questions retirees keep asking because those questions matter more than rumors. We're looking at 7 critical questions, the ones that separate a headline from a livable retirement plan. Here's what most viral videos won't tell you. That $5,983 number, if it's real, could mean 3 completely different things. First tier, the shell, just the frame and exterior walls, no electrical, no plumbing, no insulation you can actually live with. Think of it like buying a car with no engine. Second tier, livable condition. This includes basic electrical wiring, water hookups, a functional toilet, proper insulation so you don't freeze in Minnesota winters or cook in Arizona summers. Third tier, independent living. This adds solar panels, battery storage, water collection systems, climate control that doesn't rely on the grid. Most videos sell you Tier 1. Retirees live at Tier 2 or 3. The difference in cost? Potentially $15,000 to $25,000 more when you factor in professional installation, permits, and the systems that keep you safe. According to the Tiny Home Industry Association, a fully equipped, off-grid tiny home averages between $45,000 and $65,000 when you include all necessary systems. So that $5,983 starting point, it's a starting point, not a final bill. Here's the wallet translation. If you're on Social Security, the average monthly benefit in 2025 is around $1,907. A surprise $10,000 expense for systems you thought were included? That's 5 months of income gone. Imagine you've already paid the deposit, moved your belongings, told your family this is your new home, and then you discover the electrical system alone costs another $8,000 to make livable. Let me break down what livable actually means in real numbers. Basic electrical installation for a tiny home runs between $3,000 and $5,000. Plumbing hookups, including water supply lines and drainage, add another $2,500 to $4,500. Insulation that works in extreme climates costs around $2,000 to $3,500 for 375 square feet. Climate control runs $1,800 to $3,200 installed. Add those up and you're already at $9,300 to $16,200 on top of your base price. Which matters more to you, lowest price on paper or predictable costs you can actually plan for? What off-grid really means for your monthly budget. Let's talk about what off-grid really means for your monthly budget. There's confusion here, and that confusion costs money. Off-grid can be done. Tesla's solar technology is real. Their Powerwall batteries work. But off-grid and free forever are not the same thing. And this is where people get hurt financially. Even if your daily energy is free from the sun, you still have maintenance cycles. Solar panels need cleaning, especially in dusty states like Nevada and New Mexico. Battery systems have replacement schedules. A Powerwall battery has a warranty of 10 years, but performance degrades over time. Replacement cost? Around $11,500 according to current Tesla pricing. That's a number you need to know up front, not discover in year 11. Then there's insurance. A tiny home with $20,000 worth of solar and battery equipment runs between $600 and $1,200 annually in premiums. In hurricane-prone states like Florida, expect the higher end. And if you're leasing the land where your tiny home sits, that's a monthly site fee, anywhere from $200 to $800 per month depending on location. Here's what nobody mentions. Freedom from utility bills doesn't mean freedom from all bills. It shifts your costs from monthly payments to periodic maintenance and replacement cycles. A $400 monthly utility bill is predictable. You budget for it. A $115,500 battery replacement every 10 years? That's $95 per month if you're disciplined enough to save for it. But when year 10 arrives, most people are caught off guard. Let me paint a realistic picture. You install your Tesla tiny home with full solar and battery backup. Years 1 through 5, everything works beautifully. Your only costs are insurance at $800 per year and site lease at $400 per month. That's $6,520 per year or $467 per month. Year 6, a dust storm damages 2 solar panels. Replacement cost, $1,400. Year 8, your inverter fails. That's another $2,200. Year 10, battery replacement time, $11,500. Suddenly, your average annual cost over 10 years is $8,010 per year, or $668 per month. Still manageable, but it's not the almost free story you heard. And here's what keeps me up at night for people in your situation. What if you don't have $11,500 saved in year 10? Without that battery, your off-grid home becomes a very expensive shed. You're back to needing grid connection, which means installation fees, monthly bills, and possibly re-permitting your structure. Where this house actually goes and what that location costs you. This is the #1 pain point in comments, and it's the one that kills more tiny home dreams than any other. You can't just drop a tiny house anywhere you want. The fantasy is freedom. The reality is regulations, fees, and restrictions. You have 3 realistic options, each with financial implications that compound over time. Option 1. You own land outright. Simplest legally, but not free. Texas rural plots run $5,000 to $15,000. California, $30,000 to $50,000 for a small lot, plus property taxes averaging 1.8% annually in Texas. A $15,000 plot costs $270 per year. In Florida, land taxes can hit 2% in some counties. Option 2. Backyard Accessory Dwelling Unit, or ADU. Some cities allow tiny homes on existing properties, but you need permits, $1,500 to $3,000 in Los Angeles. Utility hookups add $2,000 to $5,500 for electrical, water, and sewer. In California, adding an ADU can raise property taxes by $500 to $1,500 annually. I've heard stories of retirees who spent $30,000 only to get a cease and desist order 6 months later. Option 3. Lease a spot in a tiny home community. Most accessible if you don't own land, but monthly fees never stop. Communities in Florida, Arizona, and Texas charge $400 to $800 per month. Over 10 years, $48,000 to $96,000, and those fees typically increase 3 to 5% annually. Here's real math. Arizona community at $595 monthly equals $71,400 over 10 years. Add $5,983 for the house, $15,000 for livable systems, $20,000 for solar. Total, $112,383, or $937 per month average. Compare that to assisted living at $4,500 monthly, and it looks good. Compare it to almost free viral promises, and it looks very different.
Zoning laws vary wildly between counties. Miami-Dade has strict rules about permanent dwellings versus recreational vehicles. Violate them and face fines starting at $250 per day. Research your local zoning before you fall in love with a price tag.
The tax and permit reality nobody wants to discuss. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Just because a house is small doesn't mean the government treats it differently. Depending on how your tiny home is classified, you could still owe property taxes. If it's on a permanent foundation, many jurisdictions assess it like any other structure. If it's on wheels and classified as an RV, you might avoid property tax but pay registration fees instead, which in some states run $200 to $600 annually. Permit costs vary, but a legal tiny home installation in most states requires electrical permits, plumbing permits, and often a zoning variance. Total permit costs? Anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 depending on your location. Some YouTube videos promise no taxes, no permits, total freedom. That's not how America works in 2025. Every state has rules. Every county has codes. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to prevent surprises. A $500 fine for an unpermitted structure can turn into a $5,000 problem if you ignore it. And if you're living on $1,900 a month from Social Security, a $5,000 surprise isn't just inconvenient, it's devastating. It's the difference between affording your medications and rationing them. It's the difference between independence and calling your kids for money. Here's the responsible way to think about this. Budget $3,000 to $5,000 for permits, hookups, and compliance costs in your first year. That might sound like a lot, but it's the difference between living peacefully and living in fear of code enforcement showing up at your door. In Clark County, Nevada, building permits for accessory structures start at $800, with additional fees for electrical, plumbing, and mechanical permits. A complete permit package can easily reach $4,500 to $5,500 total. Take a breath here, because I know this is a lot of information and some of it might feel overwhelming. If you're feeling frustrated that a simple idea like buy a cheap tiny house has become this complicated, you're not alone. That frustration is valid. The system is complicated. But here's why I'm walking you through all of this, because I'd rather you feel frustrated watching a free YouTube video than feel devastated after you've spent your savings. Knowledge is protection, and you deserve to protect yourself. Who really owns this house? And what happens when things go wrong? Ownership sounds simple until you read the fine print. Let's separate three scenarios. Scenario 1. You buy the tiny house unit outright, and you own the land it sits on. Congratulations, you own it, full stop. No landlord can evict you, no financing company can repossess it. This is true ownership, and it's the most secure position. Scenario 2, you buy the unit, but you lease the land. You own the structure, but someone else owns the ground beneath it. What happens if the landowner sells? What happens if they raise your lease rate? In Arizona, I know of a tiny home park where the owner sold to a developer. Residents were given 6 months to relocate. Moving a tiny home costs $3,000 to $8,000, depending on distance. Some residents ended up selling their homes at a loss rather than pay to move them. Scenario 3, some tiny home arrangements involve financing that looks like rent-to-own. You make payments, but the unit isn't technically yours until the final payment clears. If you miss payments, it can be repossessed. I've seen contracts where a $5,983 upfront cost is just a deposit, and the real price is stretched over 5 years of monthly payments at 12% interest. Miss 3 months because of a medical emergency, and you lose the house and your deposit. Now add this layer. If your tiny home includes Tesla technology like Powerwall batteries and solar panels, who owns that equipment? In some solar lease agreements, the panels belong to the solar company, not you. When you sell or move, that lease transfers or terminates.
If the solar lease has 15 years remaining and you want to sell in year 5, potential buyers might not want to take over a 10-year lease commitment. That makes your home harder to sell. Independence isn't just about energy, it's about control. Do you control your living situation, or does a corporation, a landlord, or a financing company control it? For retirees, control is everything. You're not in your earning years anymore. You can't replace lost money with overtime. Every dollar counts, and every contract clause matters. If you're looking at any tiny home purchase, hire a real estate attorney to review the contract before you sign. It might cost $300 to $500, but that could save you $30,000 in losses.
Smart technology, convenience, or surveillance? Let's talk about privacy, because this is a real concern for anyone over 60 who remembers when a thermostat was just a dial on the wall. Smart home technology can be genuinely helpful. You can control lights, temperature, and security from your phone. If you fall or have a medical emergency, some systems can alert family or emergency services automatically. That's real value, especially if you live alone. But here's the other side. Smart devices collect data. They track when you're home, when you're away, what temperature you prefer, how much energy you use. Who sees that data? The device manufacturer, sometimes third-party service providers. Sometimes it's anonymized and sold to marketers, sometimes it's not. Tesla, like most tech companies, has a privacy policy written in legal language that most people never read. If privacy is your top value, you need to ask, can I turn off data collection? Can I use this house without connecting it to the internet? Are there manual overrides if the app stops working, where the company changes its terms? I'm not saying smart technology is bad. I'm saying it's a trade-off: convenience for data, automation for oversight. Here's a real-world concern. What if Tesla, or any company, changes its software and your house stops working the way it used to? What if they discontinue support for older models? In the smartphone world, this happens all the time. You're not just buying a house, you're buying into a technology ecosystem, and ecosystems change. When your phone becomes obsolete, you buy a new phone. When your house becomes obsolete, you're in real trouble.
Who should actually consider this, and who should run away? Let's get brutally honest. A Tesla tiny house, if it ever becomes real and if it delivers on the promises, is right for you if you genuinely want to reduce your monthly housing costs and you're willing to trade space for savings. You're okay living in 375 square feet. That's about the size of a one-car garage. You have a legal, affordable place to put it, either land you own or a lease situation you've thoroughly researched. You're comfortable with basic technology, or you have family nearby who can help. You have emergency savings to cover unexpected repairs, ideally $5,000 to $10,000 set aside for home maintenance over the first 5 years. It's absolutely wrong for you if you need complete ownership with zero dependencies. You're extremely privacy conscious and don't trust tech companies with your data. You hate dealing with technology. If a smartphone frustrates you, a house full of app-controlled systems will make you miserable. You have significant mobility issues and need ADA-compliant features. Most tiny homes aren't designed for wheelchairs or walkers. The bathroom is tight, the doorways are narrow. Here's the test I want you to run. Imagine living in a space the size of a large bedroom for 6 months. Cooking, sleeping, showering, everything in 375 square feet. If that sounds liberating, you might love it. If that sounds like a prison, you'll regret it no matter how cheap it is. And be honest about your stage of life. If you're 65 now, this house needs to work for you at 75, at 85. Will you still be able to climb into a loft bed? Many tiny homes put the bedroom in a loft. That means climbing a ladder every night. Can you do that in 10 years? And here's something nobody wants to talk about, but we must. What happens if your health declines? What happens if you need more care than a tiny home can provide? If you've put all your money into a tiny home and you need to move to assisted living, can you sell the home quickly? Is there a market for used tiny homes in your area? These are questions you need answers to before you buy, not after.
Here's the bottom line. A $5,983 headline is exciting. A safe retirement plan is built on boring details. We covered the 7 questions that matter: what the price really includes, what off-grid actually costs, where you can legally place it, what taxes and permits you'll face, whether you truly own it, what privacy trade-offs exist, and who this is actually right for. If Tesla ever confirms something official, we'll review it line by line. Until then, you have the framework to evaluate any tiny home offer that comes your way, from Tesla or anyone else. Now I need your help. Comment below with just 2 things: your state and your biggest worry. Type price if cost is your main concern, or type control if ownership and contract scare you most. I'll make the next video answering whichever gets more votes, with even more specific breakdowns, real contracts, and actual numbers from people who've done this. And if you want analysis without the sales pitch, if you want someone who'll tell you the uncomfortable truths before you sign anything, hit that subscribe button. We're building a community of people who'd rather hear the truth now than discover it the expensive way later. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one where we go even deeper into the reality behind these promises.